Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of rSlash Parent Stories. Today we have a very special episode for you, a compilation of some of the greatest entitled parent stories we've read over the past year. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a few hours of the most entitled parents you've ever heard. If you cannot stand Karens, please let me know by smashing that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Become a channel member today, and I'll give you a shout out in a video very soon. r/entitled parents. Entitled mom spits in my face over garden hose. This is a first submission to a big sub, so feel free to give conservative criticism. But please be gentle. I edited to correct formatting mistakes, and I am not on mobile, nor is English my second language, so I own any mistakes. I already put this in the main Entitled Parents sub, but I wanted to put it here for your consideration. I'm kind of new to Reddit, so if I did it wrong, I'm sorry. Preface. This happened about 20 years ago, so in deference to the decade, late 90s to early 2000s, our entitled mother will not be a Karen. She will be a Brittany. I also want to make it clear that her two little girls, who we'll call Sandra and Sally, were darling and were in no way entitled kids. Also, I can't stand stories that have been obviously embellished. Like, really, who actually uses phrases like, "my darling angel," on the regular. So I am doing my best to relate the story exactly as it occurred. Please keep in mind, however, that this was 20 years ago, and no one's memory is perfect. Okay, so my boyfriend and I have moved into a house that we are renting. We are in our early 20s, with bills in our own name and feeling like we are adulting for the first time. We both have jobs that pay above minimum wage, but we are in no way well off, as we are just starting out. Enter Sandra and Sally, who were around the age of 8 and 9 years. I was quite taken with them, and the feelings were fairly mutual. They were at that age where having a big girl as a friend was very flattering to them, and would get very excited when invited to hang out with me and my friend. I would save things like costume jewelry and body glitter to give them as random gifts, after making sure they weren't forbidden to have the items. And in general, it seemed like we had lucked out in having them living next door. Of course, if that were the case, then I wouldn't be posting this story here. Introducing Brittany. She of the thundering thighs encased in booty shorts. She was too young for a "let me speak to your manager" haircut. Oh no, she had the requisite crunchy, sky-high, buy me a Zima perm. That was par for the course in the 80s. Tiffany was a single mom and always needing something. A lot of times, that also involved waking us up. 8 a.m. in the dead of winter. "Can you jump my car?" 11 p.m. on a school night. "I don't have anything for Sandra and Sally's dinner." 2 a.m. on a Friday night, Saturday morning. "Woohoo!" She didn't always have to need something to wake us up. In a kind of deviation to the usual oblivious form of entitled mother, Brittany started to catch on to the fact that she was annoying us with her constant intrusions, so she started sending her children to do her dirty work for her. I didn't mind. I actually preferred their sweet little smiles to her vacant-eyed stares. Until the dun 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 day of the garden hose. It was a hot July day, and I was doing some light house cleaning in our air-conditioned home when I hear a tentative tap at our front door. Sandra and Sally were standing there, looking a strange combination of scared and bursting with excitement. "Hi girls, what's up?"
"We got a swimming pool."
Sally was dancing around in excitement.
"Mommy said she'll fill it up if we can use your faucet."
Now, I lived in an urban area, and it wasn't entirely common to have hose hookups, so we were kind of an anomaly. Our hookup was located in our backyard. To get to it, you had to open 2 gates. We had a chain link fence and a privacy fence. Not sure why. It was like that when we moved in. The privacy fence was located just inside the chain link fence. I assumed that someone wanted a privacy fence, but didn't want to go to the trouble of removing the chain link one. But I digress. I loved these kids, but water bills weren't exactly cheap, and as I mentioned, we weren't well off, as we were just starting out. I hated to disappoint the girls, which I'm sure is why Brittany sent them, but this time I had to tell them no. I also told them that they could probably attach the hose to their kitchen sink, and if Brittany didn't know how, I would help her. They thanked me and went away, looking slightly dejected. I felt bad, but didn't think much of it. Hours later, I'm taking a bath, and I notice that the water pressure is a bit low. I bet you can see where this is going. Boyfriend comes in and notifies me that our street has a river running through the middle of it. I say I'm not surprised, with the rain falling so hard. I can hear it outside the window. When he informs me that it is still sunny out, it all comes together in my head with an audible click. I throw on my robe and run outside. Sure enough, Brittany had trespassed onto our property, opened our back fence, and ran a hose over it to fill up their pool. Mind you, this is not just a standard baby pool, but one of those large, inflatable, above-ground pools that comes up to about the waist on an average-sized adult. It held thousands of gallons of water. Not only has she done this after being told no, but she has let it run so long that it has overflowed and caused her yard and ours to flood, and the water is running into the street. I'm sure she did this purposely, out of spite.
Tell me no, will she? Well, I'll show her.
Very petty. I was furious. Brittany didn't answer when I knocked, so being young and not knowing exactly what to do, I called the police, who were less than helpful. They tell us that they recommended pulling the hose into our house so she would have to come and talk to us. We know the water bill is going to be astronomical. An hour or so later, a mortified-looking Sandra and Sally come and knock on my door.
Miss O.P., can we have our garden hose?
Instead of bringing them into the argument, I gently explain to them that the hose is way too big for their little arms to carry. It's at least double the size of a regular one, and tell them to ask their mommy to come and get it, and I will give it to her. An undetermined amount of time later, I hear the front door creak slowly open and see the hose, as if by magic, start to slither out. I quickly open the door and tell a shocked-looking Brittany that I needed to talk to her. I'm sure you know that I told Sandra and Sally that before I can finish the first sentence, Brittany cuts me off, jumping around, calling me names, ranting unintelligibly, and takes a swing at me. I dodge it, and she spits in my face. I am thoroughly disgusted and furious. I want to cry and go into a rage-induced fury at the same time, but by some miracle, I managed to hold on to my dignity and self-control. I'm calmly wiping my face and smiling benignly. Thank you, that's assault. Without another word, I turn on my heel and shut the door in her face. I go inside to call the cops, and they send out Barney Fife, who was, surprise, 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 less than helpful. I tell him I want to press charges for assault and theft. I didn't think of trespassing at the time. He goes off to talk to her and comes back looking like he had accomplished some real big boy stuff.
I told her she has to pay your water bill when it comes in, or she will go to jail.
I just looked at him.
As far as the charges go, she did commit theft of services.
And assault.
As I said, she committed theft of services, but the best we can do is file a report.
Eye rolling so hard that I saw the back of my skull. Unfortunately, that was the anticlimactic end of the story. Brittany avoided us after that and kept the girls away from us, so that relationship ended. Our water bill was $40 over the regular amount. Minimum wage was less than $5 an hour then, so yeah, that was a day's wages. We taped a copy of the bill to Brittany's door and later found it crumpled up in our mailbox. When we informed the police, they told us it was a civil matter. Next up we've got Entitled Parent Tries to Steal from My Mom. Once long ago, in a time when my age started with a 1, I worked at a service desk in a large family-run grocery store that was in 4 different states. At that time, the rules are different from what they are now. With permission, one could cash a personal check for $100 without needing to buy anything. So, on a busy weekend day, I'm busy at work, and my poor mom comes up to the desk just crying. Her purse was taken from the grocery cart. I call security and one of my managers. Down comes our biggest security guard. Mom only came lower chest height on him. There was over a foot difference in height. He, as calm as a kitten, gets Mom calmed down, taking her upstairs to look over the cameras and call the local city PD. I'm still working distracted, and my boss is staying nearby because he knows I'll bolt to my mom's side if I'm given the chance. That's when she comes up to the desk. In her cart is a familiar-looking purse. Hooked to the strap is a keychain with a very familiar face on a sports picture. Immediately, I can feel a twitch start. She laughs at all the action that was taking place. How silly little old people get. It's just a purse. I want to hit her, but I laugh instead while trying to subtly get my boss's attention, loudly asking what she needs and rubbing one of my ears as if an explanation as to why I'm talking so loud. During this year, ear infections were going around schools, causing hearing loss. The lady pulls out a checkbook cover that if she had flipped it over, she would have seen two familiar-looking people on the custom cover. She explains that she needs gas and cigarettes and didn't want to write 2 checks, so could she please get $100? Now, gas prices during this time sometimes dipped beneath $1, and cigs were less than $4, so why would she need $100? I, however, say I need to ask for approval since we were limiting check cashing limits. The lady just nods and proceeds to write out the check and falters when signing. Darn that twitch I was getting. So I call the security office and play off that I was calling my boss for approval. Our mountain of a man security guy clues in quickly and tells me to stall as police are on their way. So I happily tell the lady that yes, I can cash her check, but sadly I can only do $50. Lady gives one of those forced laugh smiles, saying she needs to rewrite the check. Ripping both the check and carbon out, I hold out my hand and point out we have a shredder, so to keep her account number safe from the voided check, she handed over the ripped out check. It doesn't take long that she's struggling through the spelling of our last name and makes a newly married joke. I just force smile and nod my head. She pulls out a Stir ID card from the checkbook and hands them to me. Humming, I start to run the check and put it in such a way that I know the machine will jam. In the meantime, the security guard comes down, and out of the corner of my eyes, I catch a flash of silver hair with my mom standing behind him. He moves to keep her out of sight from the entitled parent. Proclaiming myself having a rotten day, I have to carefully extract the jammed check from the register. I apologize profusely to the woman and step from the front of the desk to the back to get cash for the check, saying that the cash office manager will have to look at the check to see if we can use it or if sadly we'll need a third check written. The entitled parent is looking a bit miffed, but I have a feeling she knows if she makes any of a fuss, we just won't cash a check at all for her, as we were already doing this as a favor with our check cashing funds being low. That's when I hear them. It's the boys in blue asking for her to step to the side. She, after failing to attempt to explain herself out of trouble, finally exclaims, "How the heck did I know the check didn't belong to her?" Reaching forward, I flip the keychain to face her. She finally looks at it and then at me. The picture may have been a year old, but darn if I still haven't changed since high school. Her eyes got wide. "Because the purse and contents are my mom's." Mom got her purse back. Lady was carted away since she also attempted fraud and attempted check cashing. Mom did go to the trial, but I can't remember what happened, and I would need a medium to ask Mom. Next we've got, who authorized you to be closed on time on Christmas Eve? Hello. I've posted this on Reddit before, but it seemed too good not to share on here. And since I'm new to the Re-Army, I figured I'd contribute. Cast. We've got me, your humble OP here. We've got entitled woman. We've got awesome coworker. Let's go. This happened back in 2016 in my first job, which I quit last year after Easter. This was due to the fact I found it was more important I be there for my family, since my job was interfering with my ability to support my family emotionally. I worked in a grocery store chain here in New England, and it was meant to be temporary. I ended up working 1.5 to 2 years as I wanted to have experience. My first Christmas Eve there is when this story took place. Being fresh meat at the store and having only worked for a month, I was still peppy and happy to be employed. I felt grown up and ready to go. Scheduled for a shift, I can't remember how long, I was due to leave at 6 p.m. At the store, we closed at 6:30 for holidays, and managers would have to stand outside the doors so no one would come in. It was that bad for the last-minute shoppers. I had a line of about 3 people left, and it was 10 minutes before I had to leave. I also don't drive, and it was snowing, and my mom or step-parent picked me up. So I wanted to hurry as it was also Christmas Eve, and my family has traditions to do. But 2 of these people had full cards, and I ended up going over my shift. My manager saw this and said for me to give my sign to a customer so they could help me with my closing. Here's where our villain comes in. She's an older woman, who I'm guessing was a grandmother and wanted to leave. I went to give her my sign. Excuse me, ma'am.
I've been waiting here for 10 minutes. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm still going to ring you up. Don't worry. I smile, but she frowns and looks as if she's been sucking on lemons for an hour. I was finishing up with the customer in front of her when that entitled woman slams her items on the conveyor belt. That took me off guard. Had I done something wrong? Oh, apparently I had. When she came up to my register while I started scanning her items, I didn't even have a chance to say the standard, "Do you have your store card?" when she snaps at me.
Who told you you could close?
Oh, my manager, ma'am. You see, it's almost closing time, and I was supposed to get off almost half an hour ago.
Where is he? I want to speak to your manager. I have a lot of things to say to him about this.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I was only handing you my sign to put up so no one else could come in. I was still going to ring you up.
I want to speak to your manager.
That's when my awesome coworker steps in. She was helping bag for me as I needed to get home fast. Ma'am, she was meant to get off 20 minutes ago. We give customers our signs if we're going over, and the manager closed her. This isn't her fault. Now, would you like paper or plastic? This shut the woman up. I'm guessing since I had just turned 18 in October and was young, she didn't listen, but she huffed and puffed the entire transaction. When she left, I gave my awesome coworker a hug and thanked her almost in tears. I'm a sensitive person and have anxiety and depression on top of PTSD. People yelling at me can cause triggers or anxiety attacks. She was my hero that night, and I got home safe and sound. But ever since that night, whenever the woman came back, I had shots of anxiety and prayed I wasn't going to ring her up. Thankfully, I haven't seen her since I quit. So I guess it's a semi-happy ending. Next we've got Entitled Mom Lets Entitled Kid Break the #1 Unwritten Rule of Tabletop. Hi there, this is my first post. English is my first language, but I am an idiot, so excuse any mistakes. Reposting this from r/EntitledParents. For our cast, we've got the Entitled Mom, Entitled Kid, we have the friend, and we have me, embodiment of painted chaos. So this happened a few years ago. I live near the headquarters of a tabletop games company, which is a bit of a tourist attraction for gamers, and part of the building is a massive gaming room with loads of tables with different scenery for all the different games they make. So, friend and I decided that we would meet on the weekend to have a game together. Now, I won't say I am a major league painter, but I had won local competitions and had a few really cool converted models. It was fairly quiet at the tables for a Saturday as we were pulling our armies out of their cases and setting up. We spotted Entitled Mom and Entitled Kid coming out of the on-site pub, so looked around 8 or 9 and hyperactive. As I am pulling out a few vehicles, they come up to our table and start looking over my shoulder at everything in front of me, and I turn back to my table. I noticed that Entitled Kid has picked up my leader model with what looked like sticky Cheeto-dusted fingers. #1 rule of tabletop: never touch anyone else's models without permission. Sorry, my dude. Can you put that back on the table? I need to use him in a minute.
Excuse me? He is just looking.
Why she needed to raise her voice was beyond me. Sorry, but as you can appreciate, I am about to play and your son didn't ask to crack. Entitled Kid dropped the pewter model, sending the limbs in different directions as it hit the stone floor. Seriously?
Mom, I want to go to the shop now. I want orcs like this guy.
My friend was like, dude, you seriously just smashed his boss, and you're not even going to say sorry?
It's just a toy. Get over it.
Entitled Mom just grabbed Entitled Kid by the wrist and paced off. I was on my hands and knees picking up the parts and placing them on the phone on my case. Not only had it fallen to pieces, but a lot of the paint on the face had been scratched, meaning that I would have to rebuild and repaint him. It felt life-draining to have something you put effort into destroyed in a second. I saw entitled mom and entitled kid leave the shop apart, and I flipped her off as she just seemed to scowl at me. My boss never was the same as the first time I painted him, but I moved on. I hope this doesn't happen to other people. For those asking, I was playing Warhammer 40,000 at Warhammer World Headquarters in Nottingham. I didn't call police or anything. As I mentioned in the intro, I'm an idiot, and I was preoccupied making sure I had all the pieces, and my friend was on a tight schedule. I ended up having to hold on to his case for the night as he had to leave for work right after, so I wanted to get the game started and finished ASAP. For those who want to see my level of painting, this is my latest display piece. Oh, nice. And our final story of the day.
She gave my kid a health pamphlet? Fire her.
I watched Penguin Storytime post an Entitled Parents video about entitled parents trying to get people fired, and I thought I would post this. For our cast, we've got me, the entitled parent, and the manager. I had graduated high school and was waiting for a course at the university, Introduction to Culinary Arts, in February, so got a job at a certain sandwich shop to make some money. My mom let me live with her while I either was getting schooling or paying bills, way more than fair, and was about a month into the job when this happened. A kid, about 10, and his dad walk in one evening. Let me tell you, I hope not to sound too mean. This kid was fat. Dudley Dursley fat. Every step caused sweat to run down his face, and his order was the answer to why. The dad ordered his sandwich and another for what I assumed to be the mom, and then the kid orders double meat meatball sub, 2 times extra bacon, extra cheese, and no vegetables. No intervention from the dad. I filled the order, but internally was terrified for this kid. If he was eating like this without his parents intervening, how was he going to survive to adulthood? I couldn't say anything, but I had one thing I could do that wouldn't step on any toes. I put in a nutrition information pamphlet that you can ask for into his bag. I rang the order up and they left. I forgot this interaction until 2 days later after my days off. I'm just starting my shift when a Karen shows up. Sunglasses indoors, "Can I speak to your manager?" haircut, and a glare on her face. I greeted her with, "Welcome to the store. How may I?" She interrupts me with,
Where is the manager?
I get him and continue working while listening. I hate being interrupted, so I wanted to know what her problem was. "How may I?"
What is this?
Holding out the nutritional information pamphlet like it was a used tissue. "Oh, that's one of our nutritional information pamphlets. They show all the information about each of our products."
Why was it in my son's bag?
"Well, one of our employees must have put it in." He looks at me with a knowing look, and I nod at him. My manager was pretty good at his job, if a tad nepotistic. "If the order is a bit unhealthy, then we encourage them to put them in the bags." Blatant lie, but a good one. Entitled mom is red-faced.
How dare you tell me what to feed my child? I demand you fire this employee now!
Manager, calmly with an "I'm not putting up with your BS" stare. "I won't do that. And if you continue to shout in my establishment, I will ask you to leave."
Your establishment? I'm going to speak with the owner and get you fired too.
Plot twist coming. "You are speaking to the owner. Now please leave." Entitled parent sputters, then leaves. I worked there for another 2 months when my mom and I had to move, but that was one of my favorite experiences. Entitled woman cuts line to argue with pharmacist, Boston attitude comes out. A year and a half ago, I moved from New England to Arizona. I have to say, I am happy moving here and getting away from shoveling snow every winter, but I have seen a lot of entitled people around here, and I can't stand them. A little background on me. My father owned a construction company and started having me work for him at 10 years old. I was pretty much just sweeping the floors for prep work, mixing and troweling cement, and removing trash at that age. My father taught me at a young age that nothing gets handed to you and you need to work for everything. That was almost 30 years ago. I took those words to heart. I'm not a rich person and I don't have much, but I'm happy with what I have. But I get irritated when people think their crap don't stink and they should just get their way. About a month ago, I was at a pharmacy waiting to be seen. There was about 6 or 7 people in line behind me and 2 pharmacists at the counter helping 2 customers. About this time, I see the entitled woman walking towards the line with a look of disgust and anger. Here are the players. We have the entitled woman, pharmacist 1, pharmacist 2, nice woman standing behind me, and me, Mr. Boston. Pharmacist 1 finishes with the customer she was with and goes to call me up to the counter. Entitled woman puts her arm up and her hand into a stop sign telling me to wait. I give her the wide-eyed, angry look of, "Really, you crazy lady?" Entitled woman says to me,
I'll just be a minute.
Pharmacist 1, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but all these customers were ahead of you." I can hear everyone in line moaning and groaning at her actions.
I don't care about them. I was told my medication would be ready in an hour, and I'm just picking it up. They can wait.
The nice woman says, "So are we, lady." She turns and gawks at her remarks, and Pharmacist 2 finishes with his customer. I walk up to the counter. Pharmacist 1 has gone to the shelves to find entitled woman's meds, while I start giving Pharmacist 2 my info. He leaves to go to the shelves, and Pharmacist 1 comes back with entitled woman's prescription. "Okay, your total is $267.
Are you insane? There has to be something wrong. I can't afford to pay that.
Well, we can contact the insurance company and see if they can get you the generic version of the medication, but it won't be ready for another hour or so."
That's ridiculous. I'm not waiting another hour for you to put pills in a bottle.
I start snickering while I'm hearing this. She looks over at me and gives me the only look.
What's so funny about this to you?
"You're in such a rush, and now you're holding up the line."
Mind your own business, you little jerk.
Tell me which is worse, being the jerk or being the jerk bud? Everyone in line starts laughing at what I said. Even the pharmacists are turning their heads away over what I said. Entitled woman goes red in the face.
How dare you say that to me?
Nice woman says, "You started it by calling him a jerk."
You shut up. It's not your concern.
"Ma'am, please calm down or I'll have to ask you to leave."
Me? You should make him leave for insulting me. You heard what he said.
After you called him that yourself.
Oh, so now all of you are against me. I'm gonna call corporate and have your jobs. And you,
Pointing at me.
say one more thing, and I'll tell the police you're harassing me.
My mouth always gets me into trouble when I get into confrontations like this. "Go ahead, you fat lady. Look around. There's over half a dozen people who can say otherwise." Calling her a fat lady is what did it. She leaned over to slap me in the face. I ducked, but she knocked my hat off my head and sent it flying over the counter. She went to swing again, and nice woman and a couple of other customers got in her way. Pharmacist 1 and Pharmacist 2 came out from behind the counter and started escorting entitled woman to the front of the store. She was screaming and arguing that she was going to have all of their jobs. About 5 minutes went by, and nice woman and some of the other customers in line commented on my actions and basically gave me a thumbs up. Pharmacist 1 and Pharmacist 2 come back and go behind the counter. Pharmacist 1 puts entitled woman's meds under the counter and calls nice woman up. Pharmacist 2 comes over to the counter with my prescription and hat. "Your copay is $15, and here's your hat back." "Thanks. Sorry for that." "Oh, don't apologize. She acts like that all the time. We can't stand that woman." "Well, she got more than she bargained for today. Have a good one." I found out later when going back to the pharmacy that she had been banned from the store after that incident. I heard that I was not the first person she had had an outburst like that with. When I told some of my friends and coworkers about the story, and I do work in a retail store, some say they've dealt with her before. She has a record of doing this stuff. It took one person from New England to turn her world upside down for a day. Next we've got Entitled Stepmom Lets Entitled Kid Destroy My Books. Hi, Mr. Reddit. I love your YouTube video so much, and I'm hoping that this will end up on a YouTube video one day. The story of my stepmother, who I will call Entitled Parent, lets Entitled Kid destroy my books because I wouldn't let him borrow them. Background. Entitled Parent was my dad's second wife and third woman to actually date. Long story. and then the other story later. I am the third of 5 kids, 2 of which are from 2 other women. The last one was with Entitled Parent. I am a major bookworm, mostly with Sherlock Holmes, Dracula, Frankenstein, you know, those classic horror books and mystery. Whenever I have money left over from buying groceries, another story, I will go to the Barnes & Nobles near my work and get a new book for me to read. Here is the story. I started out my day reading my new Sherlock Holmes book that I got the other day. It has all the mini-stories and all the novels in one book. It was $12, expensive during the time with them, but it was worth it. Entitled Kid, also known as my half-brother, came outside near the garden where I was sitting reading the book. This is the conversation. Entitled Kid.
Hey, Starbucks addict, can I look at your book?
Me, knowing that he would do something with it. Sorry, Entitled Kid. I just got this book today, and I want to keep it in good condition. I can give you one of my older books if you want. Entitled Kid was not happy with this, so he runs inside. I thought this was over, so I continue reading one of my favorite stories, The Hound of Bakersfield. But no, here comes my stepmom Entitled Parent with the "Can I speak to your manager ponytail and witch nose?"
Why won't you give Entitled Kid your book?
Because he destroyed my last couple books, and I want to keep this one in good condition. You know I like Sherlock Holmes very much.
I don't care. He is your brother, and you made him upset.
He's 13.
Besides, you are too dumb to get the plot of the story.
Entitled Kid then came out of nowhere, ripped the book out of my hands, and then started tearing out the pages. Entitled Parent just stood there, laughed, and then they walked away. My dad saw this and got me a new book, but didn't punish Entitled Kid or Entitled Parent. Now I can't read in the garden, only outside at the park, far away from the house. I don't borrow library books anymore after that incident because I don't want to pay fees, because Entitled Parent and Entitled Kid can't leave me alone when I am reading and won't stop bugging me on letting them borrow anything from me. Next we've got Entitled Stepmom tries to help Entitled Son to get away with assault. So, this story takes part about 2 to 3 years ago. It's a bit of an entitled parent / entitled adult child / revenge. We have the entitled parent, entitled stepmom. We also have the entitled stepbrother, and we have me. I'm 24 now. This happened around when I was about 21 to 22. I am diagnosed with autism, and I don't see my father much. So I decided to stay with him for a bit to see him, hang out, the usual stuff. I'm his only daughter, by the way. Was a bit of a daddy's girl. Around February, my older stepbrother comes into town to stay, I guess. My stepmom and him were having me take care of all his dogs that stayed there when he wasn't there. I don't like hanging around him, cause, well, he is a very violent guy and doesn't know how to, well, be nice to people, very judgmental, etc. I was upstairs cleaning my room with my stepmom when he decided to come up there. I wasn't comfortable with him being in my room, so this is how the conversation goes. Hey, can you please leave my room and take the dog with you? She's terrorizing my cat.
No, this used to be my room. I can be in here if I want to. I need to talk to my mom.
She's almost done helping me. She can talk to you downstairs. Can you please leave?
No, make me.
At this point, I'm agitated. I don't like being crowded in a small room, aka the attic is where I had to sleep, so I get up and stand in front of him. I asked you to leave nicely, so please leave my room.
No, again. Make me.
So, after he said that, again, since I don't like being that close to him already, I do the shoe motion and say, please leave. Next thing you know, he punches me straight in the eye and knocks me to the floor. Now my eye was swollen for about 3 months, and I could barely see out of the other one due to it. Luckily, my eye wasn't damaged.
That's what you get, you freaking dummy. Now, stay down.
He walks back downstairs. I get up after having a severe anxiety attack, and oh boy, here comes my stepmom.
Hand me your phone. I don't need you calling anyone.
But I bought it. It's my phone.
Well, your father pays the bill, so hand it to me now.
No. I proceed to put my phone in my bra. It's my phone. I bought it. Entitled Parent proceeds to go downstairs while yelling.
Don't you dare press charges, or my son will press charges for you over a scratch.
There were nails sticking out of the wall that he scratched himself on his back. I leave early the next morning. My dad is not happy with my stepmom and stepbrother. Fast forward a few months. I decide to get the courage to stand up and press charges on my stepbrother and stepmother for assault and harassment online. My mother was there to help me through it all, as well as my aunt, grandfather, and grandmother. First few times we went to court, she kept protecting him by saying,
"Oh, he didn't get the papers."
"That's BS. So the judge says bring him in or we will have him charged with contempt of court." So, last court try, again, he comes in. They think they got everything down, and even my own dad on their side, saying if my dad didn't show up for them, he'd be held in contempt of court. That's BS. Judge shuts dad down because he wasn't there at the time of the incident. And my stepmom and stepbrother couldn't keep their story straight. Finally, my stepmom got a permanent no contact order thrown at her. So yay, no contact from her ever again. And her son got a permanent restraining order and a permanent thing on his record for assault of a special needs person. My dad is walking down the aisle to get back to his seat, like the wimp that he is. And my awesome grandfather said, "Looky here, it's the dad of the year." Best I've ever felt in a while after enduring years of mental abuse from my stepmom and stepbrother. Thank you for reading. Hope you all enjoyed. Next we've got I Am a Rook. Today is the first day I am using Reddit, and this subreddit belongs to one of the channels I watch regularly and one of the reasons I made a Reddit account. I am on a computer, but my spelling sucks, so make fun of me if you want. Backstory. I am a 6'4", 400-pound white dude and on the chubby side. I am a gentle giant, someone who looks big but is really quiet and not one to cause trouble. As well, I am not easy to move. Just a heads up, my memory is not the best, so some details may not be 100% correct. Cast. We've got the entitled parent, the fussy brat, the short-tempered white knight and my best friend, and me, the white rook. Me and my best friend went out to see Endgame at our local movie theater. I was in line to get our tickets, was the second person in line. This is when I heard entitled parent and fussy brat enter the building, and fussy brat was already whining about something, I don't know what. Something you need to know is that the movie theater only has one ticket counter open during weekdays due to the fact that there's not much of a rush unless a new movie just came out. The person in front of me was in the process of picking out his sweets that they had displayed, and he could not make up his mind. That is when I felt a blade-like nail tap on my shoulder. I turned around to see entitled parent, who had the signature haircut and everything.
"Excuse me? Would you mind if I cut in front of you so we can get our tickets and snacks? Fussy Brat has been asking for some candy all the way here."
Oh? I know what I'm getting. I'll only take a second.
"What, are you deaf? I asked if I could cut in front of you. That means that you should let me go before you."
Yes, you did ask, but like I said, I know what I am getting, and it will only take a second.
"So let me go before."
Lady, he said that you can't cut him, so you already have your answer. Now leave us alone. The guy in front of me finally chooses and started heading towards the hallway that has all the theaters, and I stepped up to the counter. This is when entitled parent decides to try and push past me. One thing about the counters, each counter has 2 racks full of candy to make it easier for people to pick out, and they don't allow for much room. I was not moving an inch as she tried to push me to the side. She noticed that she was not going to win by pushing me out of the way. So what does she do? She kicked me behind my knee, causing me to almost fall to the ground. Bad move.
"What do you think you're doing?"
I turned to my friend and he looks like he's about to go berserker mode on her. I told him to chill. One thing about my friend is that he is very protective about his friends and family. Kind of a, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us mentality. And I am one of the only people that can calm him down. But at this point, I was done with her as well. Normally, I try not to have aggressive body language because overall I am a chill dude, but this time I made an exception. I stood up straight and walked up close enough so that I was almost in her personal space and looked down at her and straight into her eyes since I was taller than her, and I spoke in the scariest tone of voice I could do. "All right, that is it. Most of the time I am chill, but you need to stop. What should have taken a few moments has turned into a confrontation and is taking longer. Now let me get my tickets and popcorn and leave me and my friend alone." I stepped back, but still kept eye contact. I could tell by the look in her eyes that she was rattled. Once I was sure she was not going to try anything, I turned back to the man at the counter and finished my order and then went into the movie after filling up the popcorn and drinks. Until next time, Naster tags. And our final story of the day. Entitled Kid tries to break my laptop, then realizes it was his own. For our cast, we've got the Entitled Kid, we've got me, the rich kid, and we've got the teacher. Let's get things straight. I go to a private school in our area, and they have a policy that lets us bring our own device. I had a MacBook Pro at the time. Now let's talk about Entitled Kid. Entitled Kid was the most spoiled kid that ever existed. I'm talking MacBook Pro, AirPods, iPhone XS Max, Gucci phone case, everything he wanted. The story. It was break time. I had been playing Fortnite, and I was in a solo. This is when Entitled Kid had then entered the form room.
OP, let me play. I am way better than you.
No, why don't you play on your own Mac?
I can't. My mommy and daddy said that if I play Fortnite, they will take me out of the school.
I don't care if your mommy and daddy won't let you play.
Teacher, OP is not letting me play.
Well, OP, do you want to let Entitled Kid play? No, because he can play on his own laptop.
Well, Entitled Kid, that is OP's laptop. So if it's his laptop, it's his choice whether he allows you or not.
After Entitled Kid left and went to bug some other kids, the next day Entitled Kid had come into school and went into what he thinks is my bag and takes the laptop and chucks it at the laptop. This is where the Entitled Kid messed up. Our school made sure that we have the school bag, and oh yeah, if we don't forget, he also had a MacBook Pro.
OP, haha, I broke your laptop, so now you can't play Fortnite either.
No, you did not. I have my bag with me. Then show him my laptop. Entitled Kid then looks whose bag he opened, then all of a sudden he went pale and went to the floor bawling his eyes out. I then check whose bag it was, and it read, Entitled Kid. I started to laugh so much to the point I was crying. The teacher comes because he was crying so loud.
What is going on here?
Entitled Kid then says I broke his laptop.
Is this true, OP?
No, he thought he had broken my laptop and found out it was his. The teacher then checked the security cameras and it showed Entitled Kid breaking his own laptop. Later that day, he went home because, turned out, he tried to break my laptop. He got suspended for a week and got changed to a different class. In the end, I got my laptop still and got his laptop broken, and I had not gotten in trouble. Man, karma is sweet. Entitled Mom holds up bus for over 30 minutes to get food for her kids, ends up getting kicked off. Hey guys, first time poster here. I was telling this to my roommate and they told me to post it here, so here we go. For a bit of background information, I live a good 3.5 hours from my dad and mom and stepdad. I can't drive, so when I need to go up to them, I usually get a bus ticket since they're relatively cheap, and I've never had a problem with them. Since it's a long drive, the bus takes a small break at a city about 45 minutes away from my town. When this happens, the bus will pull up to a gas station. That also is one of the bus stops, and the driver will announce where we are and that we'll be there for 10 to 15 minutes so we can get out and stretch our legs or go to the gas station to use the restroom or buy some snacks. When this happened, I was heading back to my town, so I've already been on the bus for a few hours already. When I first got on, I was the only one, but at the other stops before the gas station, some other people got on. No one super noticeable, but I wasn't really paying too much attention. Mainly students and people my age, but there was also what I assumed to be a mother and her 2 kids. I was sitting in the very back with my earphones in and playing on my Switch, so again, not paying too much attention. Anyways, we get to the stop and the driver announces where we are and that we're taking a small 10-minute break so we can get out and do whatever. I stay in my seat since I'm pretty deep into the game and don't need anything, but notice some people get off of the bus, including the mom and her kids. About 10 minutes pass, and the bus driver gets back on and starts counting everyone. I'm pretty sure he has a list of everyone, how many people that's supposed to be on the bus, and gets back to the front of the bus and announces he's missing 3 people. Hint, it's the mom and her kids, so we can't leave until they get back. Great. I go back to playing Breath of the Wild on my Switch. I'm not super bothered since I think they'll be back soon, and the buses have outlets so I can charge my phone and Switch. They get back 30 minutes later. I'm not sure if the bus driver called them or something, but when the mom steps on the bus, the driver is obviously upset and asks her where she was. The conversation went like this. I have an APD, so this isn't word for word. Ma'am, where were you? We've been waiting for half an hour.
We were getting food. My children are hungry, and we stopped for a break.
She motions to her kids, who both have bags from a fast food joint. The break is 10 minutes. You were gone for 40. Please try to not hold up the bus again. I have a schedule to follow. You're free to stretch or use the gas station for a bathroom break or snacks, so please don't do that again. This is when all heck breaks loose.
Wow, my children need real food, not chips and whatever crap that place has. If anything, your breaks should be longer.
Sorry, ma'am. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And if I get behind on one trip, I'll get behind on the others. Please take a seat and I'll start driving.
No, this is unacceptable. I'll have you fired, you.
Insert many inappropriate names here. Ma'am, one more time. Sit down so I can continue driving.
No, I'll get you fired.
Okay, fine. Get off or I'm calling the police.
Fine, call them. I'll get you deported.
The bus driver was Mexican and had an accent. So he calls them. They show up within a few minutes, and bus driver and entitled mom and her kids get off to talk to the police, so I'm not sure what they said. But after a few minutes, she storms onto the bus, grabs her bags, and stomps off the bus. Seriously, the whole bus was shaking. I asked the guy a few rows in front of me what happened out there, and the police obviously took the bus driver's side and told entitled mom they'll find her a way to get to her location, but she can't use this one. She cursed up a storm at them, but then they just told her to get her bags and come with them. After she and her kids left, bus driver got back on the bus, apologized for the wait, and started driving again. The rest of the ride went smoothly, and I got back home late, but overall okay. The end, I guess. Next we've got...
You know I'm your boss, right?
Entitled kid and entitled mom try to get me fired for not rewarding entitled kid's rudeness. Hello everyone. This is my first post on anything, and I didn't think I had a story to contribute to this lovely thread until I read enough of them to realize that I actually do have something to share. 'Tis a long one, so I apologize if you read all of this. Too long didn't read at the bottom. To preface this all, I used to work in an after-school care. So once the kids in my primary school, elementary school, had finished school for the day at around 3-ish, about 60 to 70 kids would then come over to our building on campus and chill out until their parents came to pick them up around 5:45 p.m. We would give them afternoon tea and then watch over them as they pretty much just play games and do art and crafts and such. A lot of the kids that we looked after were full-time kids, meaning that we had them 5 days a week, and most if not all of the holidays from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., meaning that all in all, I'm spending a lot of time with other people's kids as a sort of pseudo-guardian, parent, role model. So using manners and general good behavior is extremely important to me as it helps to inform the rest of their lives. During my time here, I had an interesting run-in with an entitled parent and their equally, if not more, entitled son. Bear in mind that this all happened at least 4 years ago, so the details might be a bit hazy. But such an obvious lack of respect from both parents and children made this encounter stay in my mind. We've got the entitled parent, entitled kid, me, and the head supervisor. Me, playing with a soccer ball in the school hall with a few other kids. Entitled kid comes up to me and grabs my shirt.
Give me your ball.
Sorry man, we're playing with it now. Points at other kids. But you can jump in the game if you want.
I said give me the ball.
Sorry kid, not with an attitude like that. However, if you want to join in the game with us, by all means.
You know I'm your boss, right?
Excuse me?
Give me the ball now, or I'll have you fired.
I was flabbergasted at such a blatantly rude attempt to intimidate me. Once again, no deal, but thanks for playing. Entitled Kid storms off, and I think nothing of it until later, closer to home time. Entitled Parent joins the battle and confronts me.
Why did you steal the ball off my son? What the heck were you thinking?
Oh, is that what he told you? No, I was already playing a game with a group of kids when he demanded that I give him the ball we were playing with. Now, had he asked nicely and used his manners, I would have considered it and I would have started a different game. However, I don't reward disrespect and rudeness here.
He doesn't have to use his manners. You're getting paid to do whatever you have to keep him happy. You've ruined his day and mine. I hope you're happy. I'm going to have a word with your supervisor. You're not fit to look after children.
At this point, I'm pretty incensed about being told I'm not fit to look after children, so I go off on this lady. Me? Listen, lady. Polite mode slightly turned off. I don't reward bad behavior. If you don't like how I do things here, then by all means, there is a fine after-school establishment up the road that will be more than happy to accommodate you and your family. Bear in mind, no one would put up with such rude behavior.
How dare you! We've been here for years. You can't talk to me like that.
Storms off and starts talking to head supervisor. Head supervisor, a very fair, kind, but firm lady, doesn't have a bar of it though, as this isn't the first time Entitled Kid had been acting up. Head supervisor calmly explains to Entitled Parent that she supports my decision and that if they indeed do have a problem, then they should try the other after-school care program up the road. We had a waiting list of about 30 kids, so replacing them wouldn't be an issue. Entitled Parent, after finding out that there was a higher chance of being kicked out of the program rather than me being fired, stormed out of the office with Entitled Kid in tow. This wasn't my first battle with crappy parents, and it certainly wasn't my last. I'm glad I didn't get fired as well. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Next we've got Entitled Mom and her kid want my window seat on an airplane. So, I was reminded of this story while booking my flights for an upcoming holiday this summer. I study languages, and over the last few years, I have attended several language courses abroad to help me with my studies, and these require me to fly to the country alone, where I met immediately at the airport by either my host family or a school representative. I did this from the age of 14, and although this was scary to start with, I got used to it quickly and I do it often. Anyway, this was one of those times, and at the time I was 15, going on 16 years old. On this particular airline, you could pay a little extra, about £6 extra, to pre-book your standard seat, to book and select your seat in advance, and my parents had done this and booked me a window seat. If you don't book online first, you just get assigned one randomly at check-in. Well, I find my seat and sit down, get out my phone and put my earphones in to listen to music. It wasn't a long flight at all, maybe 1.5 or 2 hours, and get ready to wait. Well, suddenly, I feel a tap on my shoulder and turn around. There's an entitled mom with your Karen haircut and her little brat, about 5, standing there. Our cast. We've got the entitled mother, the little brat, the flight attendant, and me, the majestic empress.
Excuse me? You are sitting in our seat.
Let me check my ticket. This is 17A. It's my seat, and it's on my ticket.
Well, we specifically requested a window seat for my precious son, and they didn't give it to us. We were assigned 17B and C, and my son deserves your seat more, because you're just a bratty teenager.
Mommy, I want to sit by the window.
Entitled mom to her son.
Don't worry, I'll sort it out. Move now, you little brat. We want your seat.
Sorry, my parents pre-booked this seat, so it's mine.
Oh, your rich parents booked this seat for you.
Bear in mind that pre-booking a standard seat only cost a few extra pounds.
We couldn't afford it, and little brat deserves your seat more than you. Where are your parents? Why are you here by yourself? You should just go and sit with your parents.
My parents are at home, and I'm flying alone.
You're way too young, so you must be flying as an unaccompanied minor.
I wasn't. My parents had checked with the airline, and they said that due to my age, that it was okay for me to fly alone without a flight attendant watching my every move.
So I'll just ask the flight attendant watching you to move you, because you're disturbing us.
Calls over the flight attendant. Hi, how can I help you?
This girl took our window seat and is refusing to move, and she insulted me and my son. She's also flying alone, which is illegal because she's too young.
Flight attendant turns to me, noticing my age and lack of parents. Hey, what happened? Are you flying alone? And how old are you? Yes, I'm flying alone, but I'm 15, almost 16 years old, and I'm being met as soon as I get to the airport. Oh, that's fine. Can I see your ticket to make sure you're in the right seat? I show her my ticket. Ah, yes, that's fine. Then turns to entitled mom. Sorry, it appears she is in fact in the right seat, as she pre-booked it via our website.
Well, my son is younger and deserves it more.
Yeah, okay, but she paid for it, and you didn't, so it's hers.
But that's not fair. I want it.
Well, if she's being a pain, I can move you up to the front where there's a few empty window seats. Also an area with extra legroom.
Yes, of course we'll take the empty seats.
No, I was talking to the girl. You can have her window seat and she can come up and sit in the front of the airplane so she isn't disturbed, and also so I can keep a bit of an eye on her because she's under 16, and I'm sure her parents would want that even though they didn't request it. I can just make sure she's okay during the flight.
But that's not fair!
Well, you get the window seat you wanted, so why are you complaining? I gladly took up her offer and packed up my carry-on bag, just a smallish rucksack, and got to enjoy the extra legroom. The flight attendant was extremely nice and mostly left me to my own devices, only checking in a couple of times, and made sure I knew where I was going and had someone to pick me up at the airport when we landed. Upon landing, I was met by a school representative at the airport and was taken straight to my host family, where I was fed some delicious food as soon as I arrived, so I quickly forgot about it. That family was amazing, and I still refer to the woman as my Spanish grandmother to this day. I loved them so much that I even returned to stay with her again the following year for an entire month instead of 2 weeks like this time. They were my favorite family by far. I'm going on another course, but for adults this time, in another country this summer, and I was reminded of this story whilst booking my flights, as they are with the same airlines as this story. Let's just hope I don't bump into another entitled mom and her little brat, as I have pre-booked my window seat again. Also, this happened a few years ago, and I am 19, turning 20 at the end of this year, so I will no longer be flying as an unaccompanied minor. Next we've got, a Pokemon battle got me an adopted son? Cast. We've got me. We've got the entitled kid. We have a timid kid and the entitled mom. So, about 3 years ago, I was shopping in my local mall. After a while, I decided to take a break and took out my 3DS and booted up Pokemon Moon. I had just beat the game and wanted to catch them all to complete the Pokédex. Most of my team I had owned since 2009, transferred from another game. This will be important later. So about 5 minutes goes by when a wild entitled kid appeared. He looked about 7, and his mother followed quickly behind, and his older brother, timid kid, quietly stood next to his mother. The following conversation went down.
Mommy, look, it's the same game I have.
So it is.
Mommy, give me my game right now.
Entitled mom hands over the 3DS, and the kid gives me a cocky smile.
Excuse me,
Yes?
I want to battle you.
Sure. Just don't cry when you lose. I knew it was harsh, but I knew how kids could be. Entitled kid and I begin to battle. My team: Chomper, Pulse, Bluey, Slash, Drogon, and Sandcroc. Entitled kid's team: Tauros, Marowak, Machoke, Snorlax, Greninja, and Infernape. It was a pretty easy battle. I swept through him using Bluey and Pulse. At the sight of my shiny Umbreon, hence the name Bluey, he immediately started demanding that he wanted it. I quickly denied his request, telling him how long I owned Bluey, 7 years at the time. He stormed off and his mother turns to me.
How dare you?
What? I beat your son fair and square.
No, you cheated.
How did I cheat?
You stole those Pokemon.
The timid kid was like, Mom, please stop shouting. Entitled mom slaps her own son.
Don't talk back, you little crap.
Timid kid begins to cry quietly. Entitled mom walks away to find entitled kid. Timid kid just sat down next to me, wiping his tears. Are you okay? Does she always hit you? Timid kid in a quiet voice. She does it a lot. It really hurts. He then invited me to a battle. I accept and go a little easy on him as his team was kinda bad and I felt bad. Timid kid's team. Rowlet, Riolu, Hippowdon, Haunter, Persian, and Charmander. After the battle, the following conversation began. Timid kid, after losing. Dang, I lost again. Your team isn't too good, is it? No, it's because I have to give all my good Pokemon to entitled kid. Does your mother force you? Yeah, she doesn't really like me too much. Me, examining his team. I notice you have a Haunter. Would you like me to evolve it for you? How does Haunter evolve? Through trade. I can give you a couple of good Pokemon if you want. There's no point. Entitled kid would just take them all. What Pokemon does he like? All of them, unless they look too girly. I have lots of girly Pokemon. Shows him my Togekiss. Wow, that's so cool. I quickly trade it to him along with a lot of other Pokemon. Thank you so much. It's no trouble, kid. Why not battle Entitled Kid when he comes back? Entitled Kid returns without his mother about 10 minutes later.
What are you doing?
Just battling.
I want to battle you. I will destroy your trash team.
Timid Kid gives a half smile and nods. Timid Kid's new team. Togekiss, Gengar, Hippowdon, Flareon, Lucario, and Mimikyu. The battle was over in 5 minutes. Timid Kid's new team demolished Entitled Kid's. Entitled Kid started screaming about how
Timid Kid didn't deserve to win.
Entitled Mom comes running and yells at Timid Kid.
How dare you do that to your own brother?
So he's allowed to attack me and upset me?
You don't know the meaning of upset.
She tries to slap him, but I step in the way. Lady, if you think you can hit your kid, you must be dreaming.
Are you trying to kidnap my child?
No, I'm trying to stop you from hitting him. Entitled Mom seemed offended and called the police. They arrive in 2 minutes, and after a lot of arguing, Entitled Mom was sent to jail and her kids were taken away. Entitled Kid was given to his father, but because nobody knew who Timid Kid's dad was, he was put up for adoption. And guess who took him? Me. So now I have a wonderful son who enjoys Pokemon as much as me. And our final story of the day. My twin sister gives birth, and her husband tries to accuse her of taking his moment away right after the birth. Hey people, this just happened a few days ago, and I'm still wrapping my head around it. I'm very borderline on whether this is entitlement or if my sister was being too possessive and not understanding. I'll let you be the judge. Sorry in advance for the formatting, I'm on mobile, etc. So my twin sister just gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, and I was invited to the birth along with the father and his mother to witness this miracle. My sister was 1.5 weeks past her due date, and my sister was ready to get past this part in her adventure into parenthood and begin the next as a new mother. The day was here, and I got the call at 3 a.m. that she was admitted to the hospital and was 5 centimeters dilated, and contractions are about 6 to 7 minutes apart, so I tell my husband and I head out to be with my twin sister. She was present for all my children's births, and I didn't want to miss hers. When I arrived, she was in full active labor and was just about to start pushing. I took my position at her side, and the father was on her other. We each grabbed a leg, and within 10 minutes, she was here. So beautiful and perfect. Immediately, the doctor put her on my sister's chest, and we all started taking pics and telling my sister what a good job she did. After about 5 minutes, father cut the cord and went directly to my sister's side to kiss her. The conversation went something like this.
When are you going to let me hold her? Oh yes, please, I want to hold her next. I want to meet my grandbaby.
She got up and began trying to squeeze herself between her son and my sister. The doctor says, let's give her some time to bond with her before we have to take and examine her.
No, I really want to see her.
My sister says, in a moment.
No, you have had her long enough. She's supposed to be half mine, remember?
Don't shout. I just wanted to meet her. I have been waiting so long.
No. You've had your moment. I deserve mine now.
He begins to grab her from my sister's arms. Have you gone mad? Why are you being this way?
Give her to him now. He has a right to see her.
The doctor says, hey, now this is unacceptable. I'm gonna need the family to leave except the father if he wishes to stay.
No, I have a right to be here if her sister does.
Pointing at me, but I was already grabbing my bag and kissing my sister and going to wait in the waiting room for her text that I could come back. I'm leaving now, so come on, let's give them some space.
No, I'm about to have my moment, and I want my mother to take photos.
He turns back to my sister.
Give her here, now.
The doctor says, listen here, I understand you want your moment, but your wife here has been carrying this infant for almost 42 weeks, and at the moment, her needs are kind of more important than yours, young man. And you, father's mother, need to leave this room now. How dare you, as a mother, try to take this moment away from another? Shame on you.
Hey, we apologize, but we are not leaving. It's you, guy, who will be going.
Pointing at all the medical personnel and doctor needed there to examine the health and well-being of the newborn baby. My sister looks at the father. Leave now, both of you. This moment is ruined because of your tantrum. Get out. You two will have your moment when the doctors are through examining her. She then passes my precious niece to the nurse, who took her to be wrapped and weighed and examined.
Fine.
He and his mother left the room, left the floor, and even left the hospital, and didn't return or call until 2 days later to pick up my sister and their new daughter. I was told that he apologized sincerely and finally got his big moment, and my beautiful sister and niece are both doing very well. They have been married for 4 years prior to this baby, and I have never seen him act like this. And I've never met his mom until now, and she didn't make a very good first impression. I'm still borderline if this is what I would consider entitlement. Only cause it's true. The father does have an absolute right to meet his new child, but the way he went about it, trying to grab at her when she is fresh out of the womb, trying to kick out the hospital staff, and how he left and didn't come back or even call to check up on his wife and newborn, I'm very much puzzled by it and would love some input. Update. So we totally appreciate all the comments and input. My twin and new niece made a pop-up Skype session and we read through all the comments, and she is going to create an account tomorrow so she can read through the recommended subreddit pages. She wants me to thank everyone for the support and inform everyone that it is true that her and her husband are different behind closed doors and agrees that mother-in-law is the cause of 99% of their problems. She says they are talking about counseling and realizing that his behaviors is a top of discussion for their sessions. Entitled dad thinks that his 5-year-old son should be doing benches at the gym, gets arrested. So, this is my first time posting in this sub. English is my second language, but not good at it. So sorry if I make any mistakes while writing. This happened a few months ago, but whatever. Too long didn't read at the bottom. So just some context. I just got a new job at a sort of country club. I do paperwork, filing membership, at a desk near the front of the gym. This story happens just when my shift starts. At the gym, one had to be above the age of 12 to enter as long as you are with an adult, 14 to enter alone, and you need to be 16 to enter the black matted area. It's the weightlifting area, where people deadlift, bench press, and do any exercise involving weights. We've got me, the entitled dad, entitled kid, receptionist, and security officer. Let's begin. So I'm sitting at my desk chatting with the receptionist, basically chilling. There was probably 15 people in the gym, and 4 of them in the black matted area. Out of the dark, enter entitled dad and entitled kid. Now, entitled dad looked like a hippie wearing a tank top and a pom-pom hat. It was currently winter in Canada. Entitled kid then said,
Hi, where can I do some bench presses?
I giggle on the inside. I don't think that you would be allowed to bench, but you can surely do some cardio over there. I point at the treadmills.
But I wanna lift.
He actually said that. I'm sorry, kid, but you're too young.
Hey, OP.
I had a name card.
How about you shut up and move on? One kid bench pressing won't do anything to you.
I'm shocked. Is entitled dad so entitled to his 5-year-old son doing bench presses? Like, does he have any common sense? Listen, If you want your 5-year-old son to be bench pressing, you gotta go to another gym. It's simply the rules.
I don't give a hoot. My son will be jacked, while your fat butt will be in the hospital.
I'm just dumbfounded right now. As I am writing this, I still can't believe how little brain cells Entitled Dad had. To my luck, receptionist steps in and saves me from eternal heck.
I think you heard OP. He said the rules. Your son can't bench press here. As a matter of fact, your son shouldn't even be allowed in here. He is way too young.
Dumb girl, I don't care.
The Entitled Dad and Entitled Kid walk up to the black matted area, while receptionist contacts security. Entitled Kid then tries to pick up a 20-pound dumbbell and fails to do so. Because of that, I'm honestly worried that Entitled Kid will try to bench and get hurt while doing so. Thank God, because as Entitled Kid sat down on the bench, security and receptionist arrived. Now, security is like 6'7" and jacked, so he's pretty intimidating. Sir, you and your son must leave this building, or else we will be contacting authorities. Entitled Dad starts screaming.
I am trying to work out. Can't you num-nums go away?
Now, everyone else in the gym heard this and are shocked as they are walking towards Entitled Dad. Sir, you have to leave. Now standing directly in front of him, and Entitled Dad noticing his height. I say, Sir, just leave now before you get arrested.
But Dad, you said that I will get ripped today.
Don't worry, Entitled Kid. See, you are making him cry.
Entitled Kid honestly looked like he just wanted to leave at this point. Listen, Entitled Dad, you will be arrested for trespassing. The police are already on their way.
Like heck I am. Who the heck do you think you are to kick me out of the gym? I know the manager, you numbnuts. I will get you fired, OP.
Right now, I know for a fact that the police are already in the building and he is trespassing. So I'm just laughing on the inside at how delusional this Entitled Dad is. So, Entitled Kid now is wanting to leave, so he's hiding behind Entitled Dad and simply tugging on his arm. The police enter. Police say, Sir, are you refusing to leave this property?
No, they are attacking me because I'm white.
While I'm dying of laughter, because according to Entitled Dad, if you're white, then you're right. Sir, put your hands behind your back.
But...
No buts.
Dad, you said that I'll work out.
Shut up, Entitled Kid. I'm freaking done with you.
Do parents nowadays pull this crap so their children can profit? It's honestly ridiculous. So Entitled Dad is arrested for trespassing and resisting arrest. Honestly, some people now are completely delusional and think that they can do whatever they want. I really feel like some people in Canada are more cringeworthy. I guess the lesson of this story is to follow the rules, I think. Next we've got how a brat of a kid ended up causing a movie-style chase scene. 3 days ago, I was in New York, talking about an entitled dad, his children, and the deli waitress who was an absolute legend. Now we're in Santa Monica with an entire entitled parade going on. I landed in California 2 days ago, and one of the minor reasons I'm here is because Pokemon Go is very popular at the famous Boardwalk. Let me tell you right now, this story would have ended differently had I not had my friends with me. Cast. We've got entitled mother, an entitled father, an entitled son. I'm not going to say how old because it ruins the story. We have entitled daughters 1 and entitled daughters 2. Both are either 7 to 9, and then we have their grandfather. So I'm traveling the US these next few weeks because I'm looking into colleges to go to after my current one. I traveled here to California, landed, and met friend and nice best friend here, where we all agreed to share a room on the coast. Very expensive. Yesterday I went to University of California, got info, and we left. That evening, us three decided to check out the Boardwalk, and we were heavy Pokemon Go players. We decided that we would split up and see what we could catch, do some gyms, etc. About 8 p.m. rolls around, and we're all hanging out again near a food vendor with our new finds and gym battles. That's when I noticed these 3 kids across from us with their phones out, and the boy looks upset. He starts storming over to me, so I nudge friend for him to notice.
Forget this. I can't fight this. What's your deal anyways? You got no life or something?
These 2 girls come walking over while nice best friend is now on this, My friend was like, "What the heck is your problem? You looking for a fight?" He shows us his phone, and it's the gym we all captured together with our Pokemon in them. Disclaimer, my Pokemon is at 3,500. Friend has one almost at 4,000, and Nice Best Friend has hers at 3,000. Entitled Daughter 1 was like,
Give Big Bro his title back.
and the other daughter was like,
Yeah, he always treats us right when he wins.
that was a legit phrase she said. I kid you not. Nice Best Friend says, "So what? We got a gym. Now you gotta take it from us." Yeah, seriously, what did you expect from this game?
Take them out so I can win. That's completely unfair.
Sorry, man, but that's part of the game. My friend says, "What are you gonna do? Go cry about it to your parents?"
Shut up. Don't make me hurt you. You guys are all wimps. You won't hit me. I dare you.
My friend says, "Kid, if you try to hit me, I guarantee I'll knock you out." As if there was a hand from God giving him the boost, Entitled Son takes a swing at my friend and, without hesitation, moves over to the left to avoid being punched, so the kid hits the food stand behind him. Then, in one swift motion, friend pops this kid in the face, knocking him down onto the floor. Entitled Daughter 1 runs over to her brother, while Entitled Daughter 2 runs away, presumably to go get his parents. Nice Best Friend, "OP, I bet you $10 you're getting another Reddit story." I'll take those chances. Not even 10 seconds later.
My poor baby.
Sure enough, here comes the obvious Karen with her daughters being yanked behind her as they storm through the crowd to find her beloved son on the floor with blood coming out of his nose.
How could you monsters do this? He is my sweet child, and you made him ugly. What do you have to say for yourselves?
My friend goes, "That runt started it." Friend was immediately rewarded with high fives from both me and Nice Best Friend. Soon enough, this man in his late 30s helping an older man in his early 60s comes up to the scene and starts complaining at us too. Entitled Father says,
Karen, what's happened here?
her actual name is Karen. What are the odds?
According to Entitled Daughter 2, my baby was trying to talk to these boys and was assaulted immediately.
Nice Best Friend had her jaw dropped, basically. Me and Friend had this look of like, here we go again, and I already felt my wallet feel $10 heavier. Grandpa says,
I'm sure there's more to it than that.
Dad, these people hurt your grandson. You're not upset?
Grandfather did nothing but stand back and watch. Entitled Father was treating his son, Entitled Daughter 1 and 2 started running around annoying the other people who were watching, and Entitled Mom was up in our face like we did something wrong.
Mommy is mad. Daddy is mad.
How about I call the police on you three boys and ruin your lives for assaulting a child?
My friend goes, "How old is this kid? He looks like he's in his 20s. He probably is. Still living with his parents. Must mean he didn't get into college."
Shut up, both of you. My husband works for the state police people, and we will be happy to send you to the island prison.
Nice Best Friend says, "Are you talking about Alcatraz? The prison that's closed?"
You stupid kid. I hope you get messed up and some inmates bite your head off.
Nice Best Friend had her hair tied up behind her, and she had a baseball cap on. Her clothes were fairly loose, and you couldn't see her figure. We pieced it together later why she couldn't tell. Grandpa says,
Don't mind Karen. She's just flustered right now.
my friend was like, "Listen to your elders. They know better than you do." Hey, sir, how old is that boy?
What's that have to do with anything? You hit my boy.
Not you, I meant your grandpa.
He's 25. Karen treats him like a king, so he thinks he is one.
I do not. You just don't know the new style of parenting.
Giving him $500 when he has to go to the movies during finals week and going to Disneyland every other weekend with your daughters is the new parenting?
Not funny, Dad.
Entitled Son had gotten up off the ground at this point and was mad. He hopped up and charged straight at us. In a moment of dumb ideas, we took off and spread out immediately. I ran towards the nearby stairs and bolted through the sand. Friend and Nice Best Friend also split up and ran elsewhere. I turned around, and I guess because I picked the stairs that were literally in eye shot, Entitled Son ran after me. I'm gonna be honest here. I'm not gonna make up a lie like, I ran track so I dusted him, or I'm a pro wrestler so I fought him, or anything like that. I'm actually a bit out of shape, so it didn't take long for Entitled Son to catch up to me. But one thing about me is that I'm quick to move. I can duck and turn on a dime like you wouldn't believe. So every time Entitled Son got close to me, I'd duck to avoid a punch he might have thrown, then start running a different way. At some point, he learned, so he started kicking. If I had to guess, this lasted for about 5 minutes. Then my brain decided to run into a nearby parking lot. At this point, I'm winded, and so is Entitled Son if I had to guess. There were still plenty of cars parked, so I ran behind a truck, ducked down, and rolled underneath. I could see Entitled Son run around the truck and go straight past me without detecting me. As I'm waiting, I pull out my AirPods, then call friend. While I'm on the phone, I get out from the truck and start heading back to the pier. My friend.
Dude, where are you?
Me. Probably half a mile skinnier than what I was earlier. Where did you and Nice Best Friend bounce to?
I booked it to the underside of the pier. Nice Best Friend went to the changing room and just hid in there.
Smart. I think I lost this entitled kid when I hid under a random truck I found.
Are you serious? You hid under a truck?
Sure, why not?
Just meet us at the hotel. I think I've had enough entitled jerks for one trip.
And sure enough, we made it to the hotel without getting caught. The first thing we did was we used the group chat we have to tell our sides of the stories. Then we left to go get food. And that's about it. No police as far as we can tell, but one heck of an exercise. Moral of the story, make sure you take on your friend's bet. You'll often win. Next we've got, yes, my child's artist name just happens to be your name. Hello everyone. I've been lurking for a while and finally got something to post. Please forgive any errors in my post, as this is my first time posting anything text related and I'm on mobile. I do also apologize for the embarrassingly long story. It's just that I like to be detailed. So, usual cast overview time. Me, we've got the entitled teen, the entitled mom, art friend, and cool teacher. So quick little backstory, side info. This happened Friday last week, and I'm 15. I am a fledgling artist, do lots of sketches and a couple color attempts, but I'm one of the few artists in my school that openly does art, usually at lunch or once my work is done. Now, story time. It's an average Friday in my school. Kids are loud, classes are long, and I'm drawing. I go through my first couple classes like always before I get to my third period. I open my backpack and set my drawing book on my desk before I exit the classroom to use the restroom, not really worrying about anything. When I get back, my book is gone. I look all around, ask a few students I know if they've seen it, but it doesn't turn up. I then go throughout my day without it, attempting to figure out who could have taken it. Eventually it's lunchtime, and I notice a group of about 10 kids crowded around something in the quad. Normally, I'd walk by without a thought, but I figured if it was something neat, maybe it would brighten my day. When I peer over the shoulder of the student in front of me, I blink once, then realize what's happening. A boy from my math class was showing off my drawings and claimed that they were all his own design. I almost shoved the other students out of the way and stood in front of the boy, who smiled at me like I was there to admire his artwork. Those are mine.
What?
Those drawings, they're mine. I drew all of them personally.
Dude, no you didn't. I drew this. Talent flame myself.
He gestured to the piece of art my best friend asked me to draw like it was nothing special. The other kids seemed to realize that our conversation was getting tense and began heading to lunch.
Go away.
Not until you give me my drawings back. He continued to claim he was the real owner for a while before I realized I had him with a few drawings. Flip to the 10th page. It has my name in pen on it. He did so, as he had erased my name from every other page with a smirk, which faded when he saw my first and last name in black ink on the page with my drawing, I really like Pokemon. He then tried to leave, and I obviously tried to stop him, but lunch then ended and a teacher told us to get to our separate classes. I was left fuming until the day ended, and when it did, I went to the front office to wait for the boy. About 5 minutes after classes ended and most students were leaving, I spotted him. I caught him before he could leave the building. Give me back my drawings.
I don't know what you...
Don't play games with me, you crap. You have it. You saw my name and I want it back. Give it back now and I'll tell nobody about this. He kept trying to weasel his way out of my grip. I had grabbed his arm before a woman came up to me.
Excuse me? What are you doing to my son?
Miss, he stole my notebook from me and I want it back. If he gives it back, I'll leave him alone. She looked skeptical before sighing.
You're probably misunderstanding. I just got him a new notebook, so maybe it just looks like yours.
I gave her a really look before she gestured to her son.
Show him your drawings so he knows it's not his.
I realized I had him because my name was on one of the drawings. He flipped through the drawings and tried to skip to the Suicune before I put my hands on the page to stop him. That's my name.
Honey, that's just his artist's name.
I literally just stared at her with a look of disbelief.
All artists have one.
I then pulled out my student ID and showed her my name. See? Spelled perfectly, like my name, capitalization and all.
It's just a coincidence, that's all.
She also tried to leave, but I wouldn't let go of her son or my book. Miss, tell your son to let go of my book, and I will let you two be on your way.
It's his book, you brat. Those are his drawings. You're just jealous of his talent.
She continued to raise her voice before Cool Teacher walked over. Hey, OP, what's going on here?
Oh, good, a teacher. This boy is trying to steal my son's art book.
It has my freaking name in it. Both recoiled at my language. Then Cool Teacher spoke. All right, calm down. Let's get to the bottom of this. OP, why do you think this is your book? Because it was stolen during math, which I have with this kid. It has my drawings in it, and it has my first and last name in it. Okay, good. Now, why is it your book? The boy and his mother made a jumble of excuses that just ended up confusing Cool Teacher. He took the book and looked it over without opening it. It has no name on it. I forgot to put mine. I still don't know if I can say it's yours. He had only seen my book from last year, so I don't blame him. As he began to open it, arms wrapped around me. Art Friend hugged me from behind. Hey, Art Friend. What's happening here? The mother stepped forward.
This boy is trying to steal my son's book.
Cool Teacher looked up from the first page. Calm down, miss. They just want to know what's happening.
They have no say in this. They will probably just say it's his because they know him.
Cool Teacher looked at Art Friend, who he knows I often draw with, and had an idea. He flipped to a page with an incomplete drawing and asked Art Friend, Have you seen OP drawing this? Yeah, he drew it in lit, but didn't finish. The woman opened her mouth before Art Friend turned to the page with Suicune. He also drew this for me last week. There's his name, see? The boy seemed to be regretting his choices, while the mother seemed ready to explode. Cool Teacher remained calm. Mystery solved. Here you go, OP. He gave me my book and turned to the mother as me and Art Friend left to go to the library where we talked until our parents picked us up. I came back today, the next Monday, and wasn't bothered by the boy at all. Once again, I apologize for the embarrassing length of the story. Next we've got Entitled Parent explodes at my mother for paying attention to cousin on cousin's birthday, then for getting her flowers and encouraging her. This is a two-part thing that happened years ago, and a story that I read on Reddit reminded me of it. For reasons like the following story, we don't visit most of my mother's side of the family anymore, not even for holidays, because of drama like this. This has been posted once before on another Reddit thread. We've got my mom, we've got the entitled aunt, we've got my cousin, and me. My aunt is pretty touchy and can be rather entitled. Years ago, my mother came to visit my cousin for her birthday. Cousin was super excited to have us there. After my mother had a long conversation with entitled aunt, mother struck up a conversation with cousin as she attempted to give her a present. Entitled aunt hated not being the center of attention 24/7 and kept butting into the conversation to try and turn the spotlight back on herself, becoming increasingly irritated when my mother would nod politely to entitled aunt, give a small reply, and continue conversation with cousin. It was cousin's birthday after all, and cousin was the reason why my mom was visiting. After a few minutes of this, entitled aunt exploded in anger, shrieking at mother for ignoring her. How dare
you give cousin all the attention?
And promptly kicked out and banned Mother from the house before proceeding to shun her for years. Yes, years. It wasn't the first time she's done this, Mother told me. These shunnings typically carried on for years at a time. Mother did want to cut off contact as she knew this was unhealthy behavior, but being a former foster kid coming from not so great homes, she clung to the only family she really had. After a while, Entitled Aunt began talking to Mother again as if nothing had ever happened. Mother cautiously let her back into our lives, and Entitled Aunt even began to teach me Spanish a while later. Things were going fairly smoothly, and Entitled Aunt was still her strange self, and much of the Spanish lessons felt like a therapy session for Entitled Aunt, where she overshared her entire life to me instead of teaching me. It was awkward. A grown woman talking about seriously private matters to a young teenager and seeking advice when I was supposed to be learning. Smoothly, until Entitled Aunt broke her leg. Mother paid her a visit, bringing a pot of flowers with a gift for Entitled Aunt. My brother and I came along. The moment we walked through the door, Entitled Aunt saw the flowers and narrowed her eyes, instantly upset, and barked at Mother to take them away, saying the cats could eat them and die. Some species of plants are toxic to cats, I'll give her that, but the way she said it was pretty abrupt and harsh, and she never once thanked Mother for the gesture or was even remotely thankful. Mother was immediately apologetic as she had no idea. Seeing the tension, my brother and I trailed into an adjoining room to talk to cousin. Thankfully, she's nothing like her mother, as we watched the situation unfold. All seemed fine as Mother had appeased Entitled Aunt by promising to take the flowers away, and Entitled Aunt began to rattle on and on, whining endlessly about her broken leg for about an hour, complaining about how no one would come visit her. Mother sympathized with her, then offered some encouraging words, something along the lines of, "I hope it gets better soon." Entitled Aunt snapped, screamed about Mother's uplifting attitude, shrieking that it meant Mother
Didn't care about her.
and that Mother wasn't.
Feeling sorry enough for her.
Mother was stunned, as she had just been trying to help Entitled Aunt feel better. Entitled Aunt ranted on and on, shrieking about how nobody cared and,
How dare!
Mother do what she did. I gave Mother a "let's go" look, and we promptly left. Cousin giving me a sheepish look on the way out. I told Mother she didn't need to keep seeing Entitled Aunt if this was the minefield we would be walking on, and she agreed. This had been the last straw for her. Entitled Aunt called a few days later to set up a Spanish lesson with me, but I firmly told her that I didn't appreciate how she treated my mother and that I didn't want to speak to her until she apologized, but that I likely wouldn't want to speak to her after either. Somehow, I didn't get yelled at too. Entitled Aunt eventually apologized because her little private therapist, me, wouldn't talk to her anymore, but the damage was done. We haven't seen Entitled Aunt in years, but I still talk to cousin, save for a great aunt's funeral, where Entitled Aunt tried to make the event about her and cousin, interrupting memories and discussions about the great aunt with boasting of Entitled Aunt's accomplishments, and not seeing her anymore is fine with us. Entitled Aunt can keep her soggy psycho Pringle of a personality all to herself. And shoutouts to our Regenerals of the day, Hobo Joe, Off-Road Boy, Zoya, and Shadow Warlock. Become tomorrow's Regenerals by leaving as many Rees as you can in the comments below.